Here are 4 tips and mistakes to avoid when shooting your next professional cinematic About Us video. A couple of weeks ago I got the opportunity to shoot an About Us video for my good friend Ronald. Since we're both very happy with the end result, I thought, why not make a behind the scenes video? A video where I can explain all the effort that went into making this video. Maybe I can share the thought process behind some of the creative choices I made, and also things I want to do differently in future projects. Before you start shooting anything for any video project, you need a plan. And coming up with a plan is called a pre-production. This is the phase where you need to decide what needs to be communicated and how do you want to communicate it. I used 4 questions to bring some structure into the message we wanted to bring across. What, how, and why do you do what you do? And the 4th one is, how would you describe your brand identity or your personality? In Ronald's case it was like this. What does he do? Sharing musical knowledge with key, blow and snare instruments. Second one, how does he do it? By providing one-on-one lessons at home in the region or online. And the third one, why does he do what he do? Because sharing passion for music gives him a lot more fulfillment than just keeping it all for himself. And with describing his brand identity, we used 4 words to describe him: peaceful, thoughtful, wise and passionate. I decided to communicate the brand identity through visuals and let Ronald tell the viewer a little bit about where his passion came from, what his drive is and what his goals are. That way we can keep the video short but still make it feel personal. My initial idea was to use keywords instead of a script. That way Ronald would explain everything in his own words and it would sound more authentic. Now this strategy might work perfectly fine for in real life presentations, but I wouldn't recommend it for videos like these. Your clients, especially when they're not used to being in front of a camera, are much more likely to go into too much detail for every step or go completely off script. They're obviously excited to tell you all about the history of the company, all the gear they have, but at the same time there's a camera pointed right in their face and they completely forget how to speak. That means that you have to do a lot of retakes and a lot of editing to make the story work. And if you don't constantly pay very close attention to everything they say and the way they pronounce it, you'll just end up with a bad video because you have to cut into sentences and, well, you can obviously hear the change in pace, the change in tone of voice, for example. So that's why writing a script word for word is actually kind of helpful. My plan for the production for this video was to shoot A-roll and later shoot B-roll based on what is being said in the A-roll. For those of you who don't know what A-roll and B-roll is basically this, a person talking to a camera, and B-roll is footage you can layer on top of that complements the story. So for example, when I talk about drone footage, I can show drone footage. The reason I chose to do it like this and not with a voiceover is basically redundancy. If for whatever reason there is not enough B-roll to fill the entire video, you will end up with just empty parts of the video, just voice only. So for recording the A-roll, I used a tripod to get a steady shot, a shotgun mic, a light. I chose a wide lens over a portrait lens, for example, because we were shooting in his studio that was filled with stuff that tells something about who he is. And pair of these for monitoring audio. Now this is something that I'm gonna do differently next time. As a filmmaker, you are responsible for everything coming together. You will never want to rely on anybody outside of the production team. That might sound a bit dramatic, but trust me, nothing sounds more unprofessional than something like, oh, but that's not my fault. No, he said he would take care of that. As a filmmaker, you have to remember that you're not just performing a trick, you're also providing an experience, and your client worrying about whether or not you got it should never be part of that experience. So what happened was, while I was setting up for recording the A-roll, I realized we were recording in a music studio. I saw all the mics he had and I compared it to my shotgun mic. So what we decided to do was put one of his mics in the frame real close by, and he would worry about audio while I would only worry about the visuals. You see, the problem with that is you can't expect anyone to focus on anything else while they're talking into a camera. While editing, I realized that the audio in the beginning was fine, but after a while, when I got more confident in front of the camera, audio would start clipping. And that's something you can't fix in post. If I would have been monitoring audio the whole time, I would have immediately realized that we were clipping and we could adjust it. But instead, I didn't. I realized afterwards, and that meant that we had to shoot the A-roll all over again. Show, don't tell. You know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? Imagine what a video could do. You know what the great thing about B-roll is? You can say so much more than just by using words. And besides that, it sounds a lot more credible as well. My plan for the A-roll of this video was obviously to complement the things that are being said in the A-roll, but also communicate those 4 words we use to describe his brand identity. Peaceful, thoughtful, wise, and passionate. To keep the viewers engaged throughout the video, you need to give them a reason to keep watching. That's why you should never spill all the beans in the first 10 seconds. There are 2 things I did to build suspense. There's obviously music that starts calm but builds up to something. And secondly, in the first half of the video I only showed close-ups that tell a small part of the story. And that's how you keep your viewers asking for more. How did I get this golden hour look in shitty weather like this? Well, the answer is quite simple, I guess. I created a fake sun. I used this bicolor NaN light, and what I did was I turned it all the way to the warmest color it has, put it outside and aimed it right at the window. Well, standing outside and looking at the light, you might think it doesn't do anything, but when you stand inside and look or record right into the light, this is what you'll see. So I guess that's it for this video. Here are the tips one more time. Tip number 1, pre-production. Come up with a plan, a good plan before you start shooting. Answer what, how and why does he do what he does. Define what your client's brand identity is or personality. Tip number 2, A-roll. Start with it. Write a script and monitor your audio. Tip number 3, B-roll. Show, don't tell. Tip number 4, build suspense. And finally, creating a fake sun for shitty weather like this. Hopefully I'll be posting more soon. Thank you guys so much for watching until the end. If you guys learned something, please leave a like. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next one.